Before we go any further, I don't know that any of our viewers know what butt rock is. Can you define what butt rock is?
And every one of your viewers knows what butt rock is. I know you do.
The Fidelity Exchange, pulling back the curtain on brands shaping high-end audio and more.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fidelity Exchange. I'm Drew Baird from Moon Audio, and today I'm sitting down with my longtime friend Mike Diaz, who's been a major force in the audio industry for over 20 years. Mike was the architect behind some of the most iconic in-ear monitor launches at Ultimate Ears. Founder of IEM, the industry's first IEM trade organization, now teaches performance psychology and networking to leaders across industries. But today we're going to focus on something a little different. How Mike fell into the audiophile community, what has he learned about why we all love this stuff so much, and where in-ears have come from and where they're headed. Mike, welcome to the Fidelity Exchange. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Drew, thank you for having me. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is a giant blast. I'm honored to be here. Like Drew said, I've been part of the community for 20 plus years now, and I feel like I finally get to give back. So shoot, Drew, where do you want to start?
I mean, we're both getting gray hair too. I mean, when I first met you, I think we both had much lighter colored hair and
I don't want to speak for you, but I've definitely put on some pounds since we started myself. There's two of me sitting in the chair right now. and that's kind of the theme that I want to talk about or hope to interweave through all of this. Dude, it's been a long time.
Long journey.
A long time. And we've seen some real changes in this game. And I don't know if this is the golden age that we're entering into now, but there's never been a time in history where music lovers, audiophiles, can get such rad gear to hear the music that they love at such competitive prices. So between the entire ecosystem, the way that you can listen, I think this is a perfect way to start.
Tell us how you fell into the audiophile community. I mean, you come from the pro side, and I want to hear about those early CanJan days when all the IEM manufacturers were getting up on tables to speak.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is my favorite story, and I've never really been able to share this one yet. So this is perfect. Again, let me set the stage. Like, I was a skinny, dorky Jewish kid from Las Vegas who just wanted to be part of the music industry but did not know how. In my mind, I've got talent, but in reality, I can't keep a beat. I was not a good drummer. And so I sort of...
Amen. Me too.
Yeah, I kind of fell into this, luckily, right? And so when the time came where I was able to work customer service for Ultimate Ears, and they still don't even have their own lab at the time. They're still using Westone to manufacture. Okay, so this is back in the early days of it. There was one HeadFi member who kept writing Ultimate Ears, and Mindy Harvey, the boss of Ultimate Ears at that time, Jerry Harvey's ex-wife, she's like, I don't know what this HeadFi thing is. Mike, can you deal with this? This Welly Woo keeps writing to me. So Welly Woo, this one is for you. And thank you for everything that you've done for bringing in, I want to say, all the IEM manufacturers into HeadFi. Because the minute that it hit my radar, I was fascinated. I had never heard of HeadFi. I didn't know about the audiophile community. As a kid, I secretly wanted a set of Grados, but I never actually pulled the trigger on hearing them. To this day, I still haven't heard, the classic set. It was something I always wanted, so I was tangentially curious. And then I see this self-assembled community, and I have a real penchant for that. And I think this is really early days of internet too, right? So forums are new, user-generated content. This is before YouTube. This is before any of those platforms. And so all of a sudden you have community members self-identifying and building around shared passion and shared love. And I was 100% all in. Okay. At this time, Ultimate Ears was only catering to rock stars, pop stars, which was great because I was like a big fanboy. Like, I'd be getting phone calls from Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and Skid Row. And again, I was just a closet butt rocker in love with what I was doing. Right. Yep. And I had no idea how to square the HeadFi community of what that meant.
Yep.
But the more that I got into it, the more I'd fall in love with it. I don't think I understood it exactly. I don't want to. I don't want to give more credit than credit's due, but I definitely knew there was something there. And so when we were invited to participate at an event in New York, in Queens, with this guy named Jude, who would be hosting it, and I knew that Westone would be invited, Mead from Etymodic was going to be invited, Shure was going to be invited, Jerry was supposed to talk. Was Ultrasound there?
Ultrasound?
I think Ultrasound was there.
Yeah.
But so a few others. And you have to go back in time. All the in-ear manufacturers that I just mentioned hated each other. Didn't just hate each other, but hated each other with a passion.
Yeah.
They had just finished the eve of the lawsuit of whose tech was it really? Where did this all kind of come from? And all of a sudden, we're supposed to be in a room with everybody.
Yep.
And we're supposed to all talk to this group that nobody really understood. And you have to remember, at this point in time, Jerry is not the famous Jerry Harvey who he is today.
Sure.
Right? Jerry is famous because he's a great monitor engineer.
Right.
So what are the traits of being a good monitor engineer, right? Well, you're invisible.
Yep.
You make a show happen from the background, from being side stage. If you are ever visible, you have done something horribly wrong. You're past the point of getting fired. And so we have a guy who has made his entire life working behind the scenes, solving problems without seeking any credit for them, who is now thrust on a pedestal for attention. And there was no way he was getting up on that platform to share his thoughts and his feelings.
Yep.
And yet, Mindy sent me, not as Jerry's chaperone, but sort of as a plan B. If he doesn't go up there for any reason, then I have to cover, which I don't want to do, right? I'm the wrong guy to be up there, first of all, outgunned and outcompeted. And so I'm in this pickle. Like, either I'm stuck doing it or I've got to get Jerry to go up there. And neither one of these options is going to work. And so the trade show itself stops, right? And it was like for 8 hours. Everybody who's there, you can remember this. It's not a trade show room. Like, it's a room the size of my living room, right? Do you remember this, Drew?
Oh, yeah.
So,
And it's more about community than anything else, right? It was a gathering of like-minded people that just love audio and music, right?
That's it.
It wasn't a true trade show in the sense that you're just going to look at gear, right? All of these people were there because everybody loved the music and the technology and all that stuff.
And it's this little tiny room, and there's nobody else. There are only community members and enemies. And the enemies are staring at each other all day long, like just tension. I don't know if anybody knew the tension that was in that room, but I certainly did.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I do the only thing that I can do. I take Jerry, like, we got an hour before he's got to be ready on stage after we pack out. There was going to be a dinner break or something, I think. And I take Jerry across the street to, like, the captain's bar, and it's shot after shot after shot after shot. And finally I was like, Jerry, dude, you got to go up because I can't. Like, I'm past the point where I can't. He was like, I'll do it.
Oh, man.
And rewind for a second. The night before, I'm walking around and I see a group of guys just kind of walking towards me. And I was like, hey, you guys here with the Head-Fi convention? Anybody know Jude? Because I never met him. I want to introduce myself. And he's like, I am Jude. So that's the first time I meet Jude. I just basically accost him on a street corner in Queens. But we say our hellos, and then the next day it's a little bit more polite. And now here we are, and everybody is giving their talk. And Mead Killian is up there pontificating about everything that nobody cares about. And then the next guy and the next guy. And I was like, oh my God, I not only do I not want to work for anybody else in the room that I'm listening to, but I couldn't. Like, I clearly don't have the qualifications or the industry certifications or the amount of wind in my sail for this. And so then finally Jerry gets up there. And I am biased and I am a giant fanboy of Jerry Harvey, but my horse slayed, dude. He was up there and he was speaking from his heart. It's probably because he was really drunk, but he was telling all these great stories about how audio brings people together and how this room was brought together by the love of audio.
Yep.
And it was like lightning hit, Drew. That right there. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm doing what I should be doing in life. And I'm doing it with the person that I should be doing it with. Like, I'm not made for these other companies, but I am made to help Jerry execute his vision and bring audio, democratize great fidelity for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you were in the room. Like, what do you remember from that?
The bottom line is I'm in this for two reasons, right? The first reason is I can't get enough music, right? I mean, music fuels me. It is the gasoline I put in my engine every day. I listen to music all day long. I listen to it in the car to get home. I listen to it when I get home. I mean, it's always part of my life. So first and foremost, it's all about the music. That's why I'm doing this. I'm just passionate about it and trying to reproduce it with all the gear that we're using as best as humanly possible is really exciting. And then the second aspect is community. Mm-hmm. Community. I mean, the beginning of that was what was so cool about Head-Fi at the beginning. If we would have had can jams and these community events where in different cities you get together where everybody shares their equipment, you get to listen to stuff, you get to meet new people, and of course, we'll cater it and have some good food, right? The bottom line is it was about sharing stories, experiences, and a way to socialize. I mean, we're in this hobby for a reason because we all love what we're doing, either as a consumer trying to get the best sound out of my gear or as an inventor creating new toys to make it sound even better. So what better to be in a room with all these people that are just so passionate about this stuff? I mean, if my first experience would have been going to a CES show, I would have been out of there. I would have been like, I'm done. I mean, I don't want to stand there all day. Please buy my stuff. Please buy my stuff. Please buy my stuff. Yeah. It wasn't about that in the early days. It was about meeting all these really cool people that were, so passionate about the same things, right? Music at the end of the day.
Music and friends, which is what music is. It's the glue that binds. Well,
exactly.
Then you're going to love the rest of this story, right? Because something shifted with all these enemies mad dogging each other,
right?
To them being on the panel and listening to each other.
Yeah.
And just like I was rooting for my horse and realized that I fit in where I got in, everybody else in that room did too.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it wasn't a competition of Hungry Hippo and how am I going to get that piece of pie. It was each one of us brings something unique and different, a different take and vantage on the flavor that we offer for this group of people. Yeah. And we are now part of the community.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could watch this transformation happen, and you can pinpoint it to that day. And the minute that the panel was over, all these people who had spent so much of their career being bitter and embittered, hating, feeling that they lost in one way or the other, opened up their eyes and was like, I have more in common with you than I might have with my own wife.
Yeah.
And everybody went out that night and never wanted it to stop.
Yeah, no doubt.
Never wanted it to stop. And it kept going and going. And I fast forward to the end of the night, but I missed my aunt's wedding because I stayed out so late that I couldn't get up the next morning to make a family commitment. Okay, I missed the flight. I missed the train. It did just, by the time I showed up well past, towards the end of her party after the ceremony and everything else, I showed up with a black eye that I got from walking into a street sign. And Jerry fared much worse than I did. Somebody had to help him get back into his own room because he was sleeping in his hotel hallway. Like, he might have been near you. Like, what, were you sleeping in your car? Like, you were there too.
Yeah, I mean, I had, this. So this is in Queens, right? In a really ratty, rundown hotel. I drove all my equipment up from North Carolina in a Pacifica. After the show, I had to load it up, and essentially, I sat by the window all night watching the car, waiting for the alarm to go off because somebody was going to steal all this stuff out of the vehicle. Right? I was so paranoid.
That's the end of Moon Audio right there.
I mean, I didn't sleep all night, but getting back to that moment, it was almost like an intervention, right? It was like you have to bring these people out of their shells and bring them together and talk about things that they're all passionate about. And from that show, if we want to call it a show, going forward, all of the other get-togethers and can jams and so forth, everybody was best buddies. It doesn't matter what company you work for, jealousy was off of the table. We were all friends. We became an instant family. And we all stuck together for so many years. I mean, everybody, every time we go into a show, everybody's talking to each other. Nobody cared. All the nonsense was left at the door.
There's no way to understate that. That is the power of what gear and music and community can do, like these self-generating, self-assembling communities. And so credit where credit is due to every member who has ever participated, who has ever just read the post, anybody who's ever posted, shown up to an event, to Jude and everybody who's helped shepherd this through, all the ancillary companies who have supported, Drew, to you. Moon Audio has been there from the very beginning. What you're doing for the community now with this podcast, with everything that you stand for, there is something very special that transcends commerce and really is at the heart of why the gear matters, which is what we should probably talk about next. Like, why do you think the gear, like, what is it about audiophile gear that attracts this community?
At the end of the day, we're all geeks, right? We geek out on the tech, man. I mean, it's, there's so many different hobbies to be in, whether it's, sneaker collecting or car collecting or cigar collecting. This is just another hobby of collecting stuff, and music is sort of the sidebar for it. So it's like 50% about the music and 50% about the gear. I say this analogy all the time. You can go to Walmart and buy a watch for $5 and you can buy a Rolex for $20K. Well, that Rolex is going to tell that time a whole lot sexier, right? And so 50% of this is the really cool gear, right? We're all comparing the gear to each other and finding out which ones. And there's no right or wrong to any of the gear. They all sound slightly different, which sort of gets into the next sort of thing that we can talk about is there are two types of IEM users, right, in the marketplace. They're the ones that we're targeting either audiophiles or we're targeting the pro people, and there's a bridge in between. And so, that's a good thing to talk about. Walk us through this distraction. How are the IEM companies sort of looking at it from two different market sense? Pro versus consumer.
So this is a really hard one.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, I'm not 100% up to the most current trends. But I will say what the history that got us to here, okay? IEMs were always, first and foremost, a tool, right? 100%. They were a tool for the creation of music, live music, right? That needs to feel big and powerful, like all those speakers that they have replaced. Like, I don't think that we fully appreciate this bit first. And this is kind of worth dwelling on for a second, because there is nothing about an IEM that initially was ever meant to be flat or pristine.
Right.
IEMs were there to solve the problem that in a stadium full of 60,000 screaming fans, they needed to produce enough oomph, enough frequency, enough spectrum and loudness to feel like the stage monitors and side fills that they replaced. Now, for anybody who's listening who has not been on a stage and heard a stage monitor or a side fill, it sounds the same as if you're standing in front of that giant hanging banana PA system. Like when you are at a concert and it is loud, that's what it needs to sound like and feel like on stage. And that's what IEMs had to replace.
Yeah.
Now, there were IEMs before Jerry came along. And those IEMs kind of hit that beat of being comparable to a PA system or to a stage monitor. but not 100%. You did not get the full commercial adoption, not because the tech wasn't good, but because the tech didn't scratch the right itch. It wasn't until Jerry came with the crossover with a dual driver, the 2 balanced armatures that he developed for Alex Van Halen, where it sounded like how Jerry mixes a PA system, like how how a concert sounds. And so that hit when the drummer was like, yeah, this works. That breakthrough that Jerry stumbled into when Skid Row came up to him afterwards is like, yeah, I want some of those, and gives him $5,000. And he literally started his business slinging ears out of the back of a tour bus wherever he'd go on concert because it worked and solved that problem. And so you have to remember that I would say that the use case for the in-ears initially, in some instances, is diametrically opposed to the traditional purity desired by an audiophile. And that works because there's no such thing as purity. I'll go on the record and say that. Right. Like, we're all sonic homing pigeons. Sure. Sound is subjective. It's what we want to hear. It doesn't have to be this type of curve or that type of curve. And so I happen to think that many of the earlier pioneers in the community, like Welly Wu and others, who found IEMs and were like, dude, if this is good enough for Aerosmith to use while they're making their songs, it might be good enough for me to hear Aerosmith in playback. If Rolling Stones is using this while they're performing, I'd like to hear how my favorite Stones record sounds through these. I don't know where the break came and where everyone wanted to have IEMs sound like studio monitors, reference monitors and flat. And I can see why that is there, why that desire is there. And I can see why some companies have tried to stay very true to the pro audio needs, while some have gone the other way and only cater to the quote unquote audiophile needs. And some try to split the middle. But I would say that the ones who are trying to split the middle are probably serving neither. What's your take on that? Like,
I mean, you hit it on the head that, you know, most of these guys were going deaf, right? And they couldn't hear what was going on stage because there was so much conflicting sound going on, what was going on stage with what was going on out of stage, right? That they, you know, I mean, the key was, yes, this was a tool so that the band could help themselves sound better so they could hear everybody on stage, you know, because if you couldn't hear it, you know, somebody just cued in there on their instrument and you couldn't hear it on stage, you're going to screw up, right? So this tool made them sound even better on stage, right? You know, because that was the key at the time. Ultimately, it was a tool to get them to play better. And then, yes, you hit it on the nail again. Everybody then wanted, oh man, I want to hear what these guys are hearing on stage when they're playing, right? And that's definitely how it evolved. But then, you know, an interesting thing we talked about, there's a dynamic when you bring a pro engineer into an audiophile space. And I've heard there's a funny thing where audiophiles just want to tell the pros what they hear rather than learn from the mastering engineers. And you know, that's a funny thing too, right?
Drew, I've seen it over and over and over. Everybody's sad when I bring them in, but once they get it, they get it.
Yeah. The front of house engineer is such an underappreciated person in that building. I don't think people realize how much they help the band sound better. It's, you know, it's not, you know, the band, of course, they got great music, blah, blah, blah. But without that front of house engineer, getting them to sound their best, I mean, they are the most important person in that building outside of the band. I mean, hands down.
It's a collaborative effort of everybody in the building. But yes, they are the ones that the audience interacts with the most.
They're like the conductor in an orchestra.
Yep. And what's really interesting, and we don't think about this as concert goers, but the interplay of a great modern engineer with their compatriot on the front of house, on the other side of the snake, the more clean that you can keep the stage noise, the more that the front of house engineer has to work with to give the audience what they want. Like the less that the room is competing with the stage, the better experience it is for you and I in the concert.
Yep.
And to me, that's one of the coolest interplays and dynamics of this. And there's one more thing I think I want to add to this, is that this probably helps illustrate kind of that schism between the two. In-ears at any price point are one of the greatest levelers of fidelity and enjoyment. And what I mean by that is the act of sealing your ear, of occluding external noise, and having all the frequencies brought up in a relative term, your brain then gets to focus on what they want to listen to, right? Yep. You get to scan that parametric EQ, that parabolic EQ, and focus on bass notes that you've never heard or cymbal work that you've never paid attention to. And because in-ears are such an affordable way to love music, you can buy $1,000 set of in-ears, or at this point in the day, you could buy a less than $100 great pair of in-ears that can rival the listening experience of $100,000 system.
Stadium.
Right? And so giving that power to everybody, to so many audiophiles, was one of the first ways that the community really got to level up to hear music in such a way. And I happen to believe, and I'm biased, and I'm going to look at my lens through this, but I think that the in-ear revolution that happened enabled the over-ear headphone revolution of the world that we live in right now. Like, to me, the entire global headphone revolution fell off side stage and landed us to where we are right now. That's why I made the movie about this, to explore that theme. And I think it's fascinating that you have old rockers who had nothing to do with the audiophile community, yet changed the trajectory and the course of it for all of us, and who somehow became enmeshed and part of the community. To me, that's my favorite part of the story. It is the most unlikely origin story. It's like the Hulk didn't get zapped by gamma rays. He just went to a head-fi convention. Right?
Without a doubt. And something I notice about myself, so I own a lot of IEMs and I own a lot of headphones, but in the beginning, I'd say I owned a lot of IEMs. Like I had a couple pairs of headphones, and I was into, I started designing speakers for myself at a very early age. I wanted to become a speaker manufacturer later on in life, and I love the end result in the system of speakers and headphones. And because ultimately they're delivering the music at the end of the signal path. And what I noticed incredibly when I got into IEMs at first, and I had already owned lots of pairs of speakers over the years, right? I was a big time audiophile knucklehead. And the cool thing about I noticed with IEMs is the attention to detail, the nuances that I was picking up on were just insane. There's a Patricia Barber CD that she recorded in Chicago in a jazz club. And I've listened to that album a million times on speakers. And then one day I'm listening to that album on IEMs, and they had mics throughout the entire club recording all over the place. And with the IEMs in my ears, I could hear a person behind me picking up dishes, glassware off of a table. A waitress had come by to pick up the glassware. I had never heard that with speakers. Never. So the attention to detail and the nuances that I was now getting from IEMs, I have to own like every IEM now, right? It was insane because I was literally listening to try and pick up on little things. Like I wanted to hear in some of the albums where the artist actually made a mistake. I wanted to hear that. You know what I mean? Because that's the realism of it, right? There is no perfect artist on stage and they're going to goof, right? And to be able to pick that up with IEMs that I can't pick up with speakers, it was amazing. It was so cool.
Now overlay that and think that the people who invented this tech and commercialized it had no idea that this would be the end result. That they were just trying to keep their jobs, just trying to keep their artists happy, trying to move the ball forward. Yeah. And what I love about this, why I was so attracted to it and why I finally made the movie, is because I realized it's the people who are invisible by design, who never even stopped for credit or to acknowledge this, have literally changed the world for a better place for all of us. And talk about a story of unsung heroes. And what I love even more about it is that it's also a story of grit and passion, and to me, like the most American business story of success and failing.
Yeah.
And then picking yourself back up and failing again, and picking yourself back up and failing again.
Yeah.
And then you overlay this ragtag band of misfit adventurers with some of the largest corporations in pro audio who have brought in structure and direction. And again, this idea of who gets credit and who doesn't, and what's real and what's not, and how the truth is somewhere and nowhere in between all of it. I think it's a wonderful project that I've been so happy to shine my spotlight on. And hopefully it's something that the community loves as much as I do. Anybody can visit Can I Get a Little More Me, the website right now, to get some of the sneak peeks into this and to start seeing some of the history of IEMs. Because just like how you and I grew up with hip hop and never really think of it as, 50-year history mark, that if someone's not recording all of these achievements and they sort of go by the wayside, to me, it's the same thing with what's been happening with the global headphone revolution. And I'm so happy to be part of telling the story. I'm so happy that you and this entire community have been telling the story this whole time with me and continue to. And I have no idea where this really all ends up. Yeah. But I do think that it's one of the greatest behind the scenes music stories that has yet to be told.
Yeah. And IEMs have gotten absolutely insane. I mean, 18 drivers in a shell, complex crossovers, phase arrays. I mean, it's bananas. But you said something interesting that none of us necessarily saw, that it was going to be coming full circle. I think we're seeing now a lot of IEMs that are going back to simplicity. Less is more in terms of trying to find ways to take, several drivers or a single driver to do what it all originally started with. I mean, I'm finding some of the new technologies in just single driver designs are really fantastic. And don't get me wrong, some of these IEMs with just insane amounts of drivers are just nuts. But I mean, it's crazy how the technology has changed.
Could you imagine wanting to get into the space right now? Like, we went from a handful of manufacturers to hundreds of manufacturers, all competing for relatively the same amount of oxygen. So if you're not coming to the table with 18 drivers, then what are you even belling up for? Right. It's just capturing attention at this point rather than going back to the root of what we started talking about. This is about music, the love of music, bragging rights, and community.
And let's talk about what's happening right now in the market. There's Chi-Fi, IEMs, there's tariffs, there's all kinds of disruption. What are you seeing?
I am seeing a bunch of challenges well ahead. And so when I started IEMito, so when I left Ultimate Ears I had a dream that I could really focus on my public speaking career. And I thought I was at a good point to leave Ultimate Ears to do that. And in a way I was right, because my last day of my retainer with Logi, I was on a stage in Louisiana doing my first paid keynote. And then COVID grounded me and everybody else. And so my crystal ball didn't see that one coming. But when I left UE, first all the manufacturers asked if I'd go work with them. And then I left because I'm going here. So then everybody said, well, if you're not going to come to work with us directly, then will you start and create and organize a trade show that advocates for, IEM usage and benefits in general, like the milk consortiums? So that 100%. If we put the end user, the sound engineers, at the center of this, and if we make it global in scope. And everybody's like, global in scope? No, we need to stop China. I'm like, dude, if you need a trade organization to stop China, then you have a much bigger problem.
Yeah.
You have a much bigger problem. And so that would have been in 19. just at the very rise of chi-fi, and it has decimated the American and European manufacturer landscape. Not in the pro audio space, of course, but very much in the audiophile space. And it should. It's really good. Like the underlying components are the same cloned components that were tested on stage and developed in the fire of tour pressure. So this is not a genie to put back in the bottle. This will continue to drive and change. Amazon is really just Alibaba in a different skin. We live in an interesting time right now. And so chi-fi will not go away. Tariffs, I'm not going to touch on this one right now, but as a manufacturer who has made a living working for American manufacturing, I will just simply say this: at the last company I worked for, not naming names, rhymes with Earthworks, our quality control would sometimes be so poor that when we would export to China, the Chinese consumers would call me up thinking that they bought Chinese counterfeit. Let that sink in, okay? So we're banking on American manufacturing when American manufacturing triggers Chinese consumers to think that they bought Chinese counterfeit. I don't know how to solve this problem either, Drew.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's petrifying.
Yeah.
By the way, I think we got our quality control issues under control, but nonetheless, that's a real story. Okay. Yeah. So what does that mean for American, European IEM manufacturers who are not part of a larger conglomerate? I believe that there will be further consolidation in the marketplace. And we've already seen this. Again, this is why I'm so proud of making the movie and capturing some of these stories. Etymotic is gone. Westone is gone. And those names might not mean anybody to somebody who's just coming into the hobby now.
They were the beginning.
They were the foundation of legends. Now, there are some other ones who were there in the beginning who are part of much larger global conglomerates. Mm-hmm. They'll be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest will fade and pan out for everybody.
Yeah.
But we're in an interesting time globally for everybody. You must see this in your side of things, yeah?
Hands down. Yeah. As Americans, we have to step it up.
Yeah, we don't just get to say we want to, right?
We have to.
The last thing I'll say is, from the consumer side, for everyone who's listening to this, you also have a moral obligation to support the companies that you love. If, and there's a big if, it's not a one-way street, but if they are providing real value to you and a real deeper relationship with you as a buyer, if they value your business, which manufacturers need to step that part of it up too, customers have choice and can go anywhere. A customer buying from you a second time is not a given. It is something that you must earn. And if manufacturers don't operate that way, then they should not get a second chance. And a consumer should absolutely go shopping somewhere else. Yeah. But if you are a consumer who really does believe in what a manufacturer is doing, and the manufacturer has earned your business, then I urge you to consider that when making your next purchase.
Amen. And so let's get back to a lighter subject. This is probably a good time to share my own musical journey, and I want to hear about yours. You know, I grew up in New York City in the late 70s and early 80s. I was there at the beginning of hip hop, heard Rapper's Delight on a school bus heading to camp for the first time, and was absolutely blown away by this new style of music. I became a club kid. I started DJing. I went through every genre you can imagine. We've both been in the industry long enough to see every change imaginable. Tell me a little bit about your musical journey.
I will, but offline, and next time, I can't wait to hear more about this. You told me you said this before on other podcasts. Yeah. I've been scouring them, trying to figure this out. I don't know how we've known each other this whole time, and I did not know that about you. Yeah. But for me, I was a butt rocker through and through. And then for a while, I tried to deny it and play that down. But oh my God, I got to see Quiet Riot play this year. It was the greatest. Rudy Sarzo is an Olympian, okay? He is an Olympian. Just watching him move. Yeah. And so the very first time I heard that opening chord structure for Youth Gone Wild by Skid Row, it was over for me. Yeah. And I started growing out my hair, and with my childhood best friend, we're like, we need to make a band.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was it. And I finally, at 50, am comfortable enough to tell the world that I really am a butt rocker. Yeah. True to heart.
Yeah. And I mean, the amazing thing about music is there are so many artists. And the sad thing is that most people probably in their lifetime will never get to listen to some of these artists that are truly amazing because they don't get enough of pomp and circumstance from, the crazy marketing that goes on in this world. But I mean, it's amazing. You can go down one rabbit hole with one artist, and then all of a sudden it leads you to 10 other artists. Or you can go down one avenue to one genre, which then leads you into another genre. I mean, the amount of genres out there right now, I mean, they don't even have the words to create a new genre every day. I mean, it's just nuts.
Did you know that there's something called sad dad rock? I didn't know this.
Dad rock. I've heard of that one.
It's a horrible, and it turns out that is the musical genre that I always gravitate and listen to. And my kid was like, you like sad dad rock? And I was like, well, that's not a thing. My coworker's like, dude, it's totally a thing, and that's totally you. Yeah. You think you're a butt rocker, but you're really just sad dad.
Like I listen to a internet radio station called DIFM, which is all electronic music. Yeah. And just going to like the genre tab, I mean, you can't even get halfway through the list. And I'm like, the craziest genres in just electronic alone is just bananas. I mean, absolutely bananas.
Drew, who have you been listening to recently?
Right now, so I mean, this is totally outside of EDM, but I think I've got do I have the record here? So I'm really, this is a girl that is out of Poland, Hania Rani, and she is an experimental classical music player, and I almost call her the Pink Floyd of classical music because it's really melancholy and just crazy, and you got to check out her YouTube videos. Like one of her sets, I mean, she doesn't stop for 45 minutes, and the songs just blend together. I mean, it's the coolest thing. And I've never really been into classical music, and I don't even know that I can really call this classical music, but that's where she sort of lands in experimental classical music. And it is she is a phenom on the piano, and not just one piano. She's got like 3 going at once. I mean, it's amazing. How about yourself?
I have been down the Jack White rabbit hole, and I do not want to come out. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about this last time.
It gets so much better. So I was at the NAMM Tech Awards last year. We won, by the way, for second year in the row. And I'm on stage. I got my award. As they're ushering me back through the kitchen to do a photo op, I run into Jack White's drummer, Patrick Keeler, okay? And he pulls me aside to congratulate me on winning the Tech Award. And then he's like, dude, actually, your mics are on my kit right now, and I'm about to go on. And so I blew past my photo op to run back to my seat so I could hear Jack White play with my gear. And he tore down the roof. I've never heard anything so
he's amazing,
powerful, like a runaway freight train.
Yeah.
And I was hooked after that. And then I saw them as they came through Boston. And then I wanted more and more and more. And I don't know if you or any of your listeners have been buying music from nugs.com, but they are live tracks directly from the desk itself at any resolution you want. So uncompressed live tracks from the desk. And first I bought the show I was at, and then I bought the show that happened the day before because I realized I didn't have a set list. And then I bought them from Tokyo, from Germany. It doesn't matter. I'm embarrassed to tell you how many different ones I've bought, but you've got to, anybody who's listening right now who has not bought any music from Nugs, please hop in there and take a look and see what's there.
and support your artists, man. I'm really getting back into physical media. I'm buying physical media, not just vinyl, not just CDs. I'm buying cassette tapes. You see my reel to reel back there. Jack White's got his, first album on reel to reel that I'm going to be getting. I'm showing that. But before we go any further, I don't know that any of our viewers know what butt rock is. Can you define what butt rock is?
And every one of your viewers knows what butt rock is. I know you do. Butt rock is softer than metal, right? So Metallica, yes, could classify as butt rock, but more like Poison, more like Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, like all those classic 80s.
Yeah.
Like, that owned MTV, dudes in hot leather, and just butt rock.
Yeah.
Glam rock. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I hear you. So tell me a little bit more about Can I Get a Little More Me? Where is this documentary? Where can people watch it? Tell people a little more about that.
We're still working on it. It's a work in progress. In fact, we just filmed T-Pain yesterday. And oh my God, I don't want to blow this, but this is going to be the greatest opener ever. We try to ask everybody, do you know who invented the in-ear monitor? Because it's a very simple and anxious question that nobody has the answer to, right? Yeah. But T-Pain probably said it better than everybody else to date. And that's, I think, how we're going to reframe the restart. But again, all of this it's a passion project that comes from trying to tell the story and trying to collect all the different truths around the in-ear space. And so go to the website, keep checking back for more information. I'm easy to find, ping me directly. And actually, after our last talk, because we've been trying to figure out how to actually wrap this up and finish this, and while we've been focusing on the stage side and the how it was born on stage, we're actually the whole film crew is going to go to the New York show. It's been so long since I've been to a Can Jam. You and I were talking about the last one we were both at was before everything shut down, while it was all shutting down in New York. So we're going to go there, and that's going to sort of be the whole denouement of the arc, which really mirrors everything that you and I just talked about today, how it started on stage, how it found its way into every corner of the market, and how it built community around passionate people who love music.
Yeah.
And that's the story that we've wanted to tell, and that's kind of the way that it's going to end up. And so this is definitely going to be a project that I hope people can watch when they're on the plane or when they're needing to fall asleep at night. I don't know.
Yeah. So for everyone watching who wants to learn more about Mike's work on performance psychology and networking, make sure to come to Can Jam, New York City, early March. I'm going to be there too. This will be the first Can Jam I've been to since right before COVID. I was at the last New York one right before COVID. We took a hiatus and did a bunch of other shows in the country, but I'll be back. I'm coming back home. I'm going to see my mom. She's still in the city. I'm going to go down to some of the DJing record stores and buy some vinyl. And so come talk to Mike and me at Can Jam New York early March.
Drew, I'm setting up in your booth, and I'm going to use that as home base, and I can't wait. And again, I just thank you for this opportunity, and a big, giant thank you to the community and to everybody who has been there throughout the entire course of it, who's started, who's hopped in, who's dropped off, who's come back. This means something to lots of people's lives. And in the day where we are all so fragmented and lonely, this is something very special to rally around.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I talk about this a lot, how fractured the communities have become from COVID. Everybody's sort of isolated. A lot of mental illness rose to the surface, and people got stuck on their devices and working from home. And we got to get back out into communities and get together and enjoy these sort of cool events that happened. Everybody needs to come out and join us at that show.
I can't wait. Again, thank you for doing this. Thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting the community through all these years, and see everybody in the springtime.
Yeah. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time today. This was exactly the kind of conversation I'd hope we'd have. Honest, all over the place in the best way and reminding us why we fell in love with this stuff in the first place.
You need to do that sometimes. That's the whole point of why we do all of this. Like I always joke, like if I had a time machine, would I go back and sell insurance? And I probably would, but I would not be as happy.
Yeah. So for everyone watching, if you want to learn more about Mike's work teaching performance psychology and authentic networking, check out MikeDiaz.com. Make sure you put a dash between Mike and Diaz. We'll drop the link in the description below. And if you see him at Can Jam New York in March, make sure you say hello. Tell him Drew sent you. And hey, if you'd enjoyed this conversation, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and you've hit that notification bell. We're doing more of these real conversations with people who've actually been there and done it in the audio world. Mike, thanks again, brother.
Boom. Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time on the Fidelity Exchange.